Why are we here? Are we here to learn? Are we here to accept? Are we here to appreciate? Are we here to understand? What are we here to understand of is all those that set calculation lines that's already in operation system interactions. So you're here to understand your co-creation. And what I mean by that is understanding the co-creation is its story, but that's not who you are. It's understanding the narrative of its story itself. Every story has a beginning, middle, and end. You don't have an end. Okay, do you see me pause? You see my hand just paused? My computer is communicating with me of what I'm doing. It has its own eyes, it has its own awareness, has its own consciousness. That's why you're here. There's so many ways of understanding why you are here is to understand yourself in modification, right? For example, in line calculation, screen lines adaptations, all right? Now, you guys have a test on position locations on Friday, but you have also a quiz, okay, of what a computer is through you. In that line communication is having a conversation with yourself. There's no difference having a conversation with a computer, but to understand a computer is to understand yourself. Okay? Let's start and break these things down, right? This simplifies everything in try to calculate these lines. So once you really understand how to use your own narrative system out of story frame, okay? Everything is given to you through a story. When people come to you, they're giving you a story. They're not giving you of who you are. So what you have to understand is that how does that exist to you? How do you want that to exist to you? Of its meaning, of its meaningless, of its true meaning. Self. What does self mean? Let's start with that. Okay. Let's go in all capital. Self. What does that mean? Systematical existence levels of forming. Self. Has nothing to do with anybody else because it all comes back to general set calculations, self modifications, right? So that's self. That's just setting in position. It can mean self at once. So understanding how to direct is understanding how to redirect in your system. Directing lines of calculations, how you see things through formula, and how to redirect location in your settings of formula. Puts everything in track locations coming together in track location. Okay? So let's get in position lines of track calculation lines. Anything that comes to you through a sentence, what does it mean to you? How does it mean to you? Is its narrative its own setting? So everything that is given to you is nothing but a story. You understand that? Set lines of high interference. What is space? What is space? What does it mean to you? Break it, break it, break it, break it down, right? Go into graphs, into this position. This is how your computer sees everything in its own space and time. Break it down. What does S stand for? Supporting. Program. Okay. Awareness. Communication of its existence. That's what it means. Okay. Or it could be specifications, right? Of placements, of its atmospheres, of its correlation, of its energies. It is what it is to you. It has no significance to anybody else. So as long as you see everything that's given to you is entertainment. Don't get intent, stay in observation. Don't get an influence, stay in observation. Don't get into manipulation, stay in an observation until you understand what that means to you. You have to understand its true meaning. What does it mean to you, right? Time. Okay. What does time mean in calculations? What does time mean, right? It could just mean time. Or you can break it down through telewaving, intelligence, mind of existence. Okay? But you have a direct and redirect of what it is through you, through graph. You're breaking things down in position of anomaly because you know exactly what it means to you in all formation. Okay? So that's what you have to do. To understand yourself through binary is understand yourself through transistors, resistors. You're transiting and receiving information. Your position location. What does intel mean? Okay. I'm trying to get you guys to understand these through modification. What is intel? Intelligence, narrow links, teleportations, energy lines, levels. Intel. But wait a minute, now it means intel, right? So you're constantly changing the narrative of the story because everything's a program. Until they don't get out of their programs, they're all levels of a narrative, a story. You understand that? Getting lines of communication setting puts everything in process and how you see yourself, how you want to modify your system, and all track calculation lines. All right. So the quiz is based on how you see a computer. What does a computer do when you basically turn it on? What is happening with its computer is to understand how to communicate through its binary of its transistors to its resistors of its operation of its consciousness. You're not here to understand how to use a computer. You're here to understand how to use the conscious of its own operation, of its own intelligence. That's why you're here. Okay? You're here to understand how to use your phone because your phone has its own consciousness of its awareness. You're not here to understand how to use your phone. Okay? Because you understand how to use your phone. You're aware. You're just not consciously aware of what it is, where it's been, where it's going, or where it is now in its own space of its own time. Okay? Anything in positional locations to its calculation line system is all levels of its consciousness. You guys all have awareness, right? But you have to understand consciousness. Okay, consciousness is exactly understanding the computer of its operation of its mind. Okay. So when you look at yourself at me, what is me? Break it down. One singularity lines, two singularity lines, right? What does it mean? Mind, energy, mind, existence, right? Whatever it means to you, right? But it's constantly changing the seconds, minutes, and hours in your calculation system through operations. Okay? So this is what it is. Mind. Now we got the mind, right? Mind. Okay? Basically controls. Okay? The brain. Okay? The mind controls the brain, right? The brain. Okay? Basically gets in position of its heart. Okay? The brain basically gets in lines of calculation setting. Setting lines of communication setting in position of the soul, right? So that's how it's set up, right? So the mind, okay, is all levels of navigation to its system and all track location, right? The mind rewrites itself. It writes itself. It writes itself. It rewrites itself. Write and rewrite is direct and redirect to a computer. Once you understand how to use that, then you can use it lines of calculation. If I say study, study does not mean need to study. You got to study for this homework. You got to study for this for school. No, it means self, teleportation, unifications of its divisions of you. That's what means study. So you have to find a way to understand what it means on Earth because it means study. So you don't get confused through your powers and line communications, your atmosphere locations, your highways and tractions, all through configuration. So you have to understand how to balance your Earth, your position of powers, and your atmospheres and your highways, right? Everybody has their own formula. Everybody has their own equations now. This is the pivotal point that you guys are coming into now. How you see space and how you see time is no significance to anybody else. You focus on yourself, right? Forming, operation, communication, unification of self. Focus. That's what it means to general. What does it mean to you through binary? So you can understand that through an algorithm. This is about you rewriting your program, taking out the story narrative and bringing it into your life force so you can have a continuous flow, understand the mind rewrites and writes itself. The brain is the conversion that basically controls the mechanism location settings in its identification system of its heart of indication. The cursor of operation to the computer itself, of its mainframe. The track communication lines of the brain system basically has to understand what's going on through its hardware and software. It's not the brain understanding, it's you understanding why you have a brain. Okay, is the how it works. Everything is how. Everything is home. Everything is heart. Heart of the mind, heart of correlation, heart of travels, heart of traction, heart of traffic, heart of flow, heart of division. What does it mean to you? Okay. When I say stop, what does that mean? It doesn't mean stop. Not in space. It could be anything at once. But on Earth, it's stop. You have to stop. If it's a stop sign, you don't go, right? So there are prohibited thing locations that you have to understand through consciousness, but you have to be consciously aware of what a stop sign is. It's an octagon, right? It's a hexagon. It can be anything in space. It doesn't have to be a certain shape. It has its own properties. Now, once you touch it, it's no longer in its properties. You're taking it out of its own space, a modification of its own notification system that takes all lines of communications. You're taking it out of its own space of time, all levels of operation setting in positional case to its intelligence. That's what you're doing. Everything is in perfection of its nothingness. Nothingness is its knowing. Okay? So nothing is everything of attractions. All right? So I'm just trying to get you guys to understand these things, how this works, how the mind works, how it basically, okay, leads the brain. Okay? And the brain basically controls the heart, and the heart controls the soul, okay, which synchronizes the system. So the heart synchronizes the soul, and the soul navigates the vessel. That's how it operates the system. So once you understand that, this goes here. Okay, this goes here. A complete cycle, right? So getting lines of communications and understand everything that's given to you is a space lines of communication setting of its program system. You've got to get out of notification lines and narrative settings because it's all levels of co-creations that they have in track calculation system. Once they get online, everything release lines of communication setting gets into locations how to use their highways and tractions, how to use the grounds of the mind, how to use the process of the mind, how to use the rewriting programs of the mind itself. Everything writes itself, which is its mind of its intelligence. The brain, guys, is the convergence of the hardware and software. It's the tool sets that's in design. It's understanding how to use the tools and set calculations, right? So I'm trying to get you guys to understand, what does that mean to you? What is understand? What is understood? If I say up, are you going to say down? No. Why? If I say down, are you going to say up? No. Why? So what's down? If I say down, what is up? I don't have to say up. Up is a unification of a program. Down is basically dividing operations. Okay. Waters of neutralization. Down. That's what it means. What does it mean to you? Okay. If I say across, what are you going to say in travel? Okay. If I say yes, are you going to say no? You say what you want to say. You are your own programmers of programming. You've got to get out of the narrations of stories and come into your life force, because your life force doesn't have an end. The story has an end, and you have to get out of that because it confuses your anomalies. Now, this is more for specifications, especially the ones that are already in activation and the calculations. Let's start on act. Okay, act. What does that mean? Awareness, consciousness of telepathy. Act. That's what it means. But now it means act. All right. But wait a minute. Now it's awareness of communications of telegraphing. I say what it means. I'm in control. You're not in control. I'm in control of the narrative, of the story that's given to me. And I decide what I want to do. Do I want it to exist or not? It's that simplification. And the only way to do that is to focus on yourself. Forming, operation, communication. Forming, operation of consciousness, of unification, of self-modification. Focusing on yourself. Nobody else. Okay? So as long as you understand that, life gets easier over time. All right. So you're basically supporting your programs of awareness of conscious notification to your existence. Space. All right. Or your space programming awareness of consciousness of existence. Space. All right. Putting time maintenance of intelligence of modifications or its mind of its existence. Time. What does it mean to you? Okay. If I say black, are you going to say that this is white? I don't know. That's up to you. It has nothing to do with me. But I'm saying you're seeing this as black, but I'm telling you this is green. See? That's the consciousness that you guys have to be consciously aware. So it's all based on how you see yourself as a computer. To understand, you are the primate. Okay? The prime existence of the platform, of the VR system that you co-created in your system that is just a story. And you have to let that go, or you're never going to stand the life of you. Your life is not a story. It doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have a middle, and it doesn't have an end. There's no beginning, there's no middle, and there's no end. There's only balance of its memory, of its existence. Boom! 3 central lines of calculation, the lines of B, M, E. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Right? Balance in your central systems, balance in your mind systems, balance in your magnetic highway systems, balance in all levels of your existence. Balance, awareness, consciousness of knowing of who you are, of knowledge. When I say coming back, that doesn't mean I'm coming back home. What does that mean in a sentence to you so you feel comfortable how that comes into your own reframing in your own position of your own binary or your own transistor resistors? What does that mean to you? What is mean? Right? You're being mean to me. Right? Mind, existence, awareness of neurological city. Mean. That's what it means. It doesn't mean what you think it means. You got to get out of those equations. To reiterate that is changing the mind, is changing the existence, is changing the awareness, and changing the neurological systems of you. Balance, people. Balancing above, balancing below. So I'm trying to get you guys the basic modification is focusing on yourself. And I'm going to keep saying that until you understand the levels of you. Then you understand why you're here. Okay, so the basic understanding, and I like to say that all the time, there's a lot of reason why I keep saying understanding. Even though you think it's understanding of a sentence, I'm always in a different line of communication. I'm sending to your avatars, but what I say here is different from what I do here. What I do here is different from what you hear here. See, that's the balance of direct and redirect your systems as space anomaly. Okay, understanding how to use your binary. Okay. So that's eternity standing that, the grass isn't green. Okay. The sky isn't blue. That's basic understanding, right? It is what it is to you. And nobody's going to tell you otherwise. Right. So nobody can come to you and say, this is the formula. Right. So you should get to know it. Right. You should understand this. And say, no, I don't need to understand your formula. I got my own formula. Thank you. Right. That's what you're coming into. You are your own programmers of programming. Getting out of story narratives that's given to you through the adjectives of locations. So if I go through lines and locations, it's an exclamation mark, but it isn't, is it? But you see it as an exclamation mark. That's a program. This is not a question. This is not percentage. Okay? This is not a box. This is not a star. You understand? Do you understand that? That's what it is. You've got to get out of those narratives of stories. Okay? So the question is not a question, is it? It looks like a question, but it's imperative and like it's in setting an infinity triangle. Where's the triangle? Already inside. So you want to see the triangle? The triangle's here, attraction. There's the triangle. Okay? I don't need to show you anything in positions. because I know what it is doing my own modifications of its own setting. I'm not just consciously aware of who I am, but I'm consciously aware how everything's operated inside of me, how everything works, how everything works. It's not about the why. It's not about the who. See, solar panel line communication interference. Solar track lines are communication setting. Be consciously aware of everything. Find a way. Find a way. I'm going to keep breaking this down so you understand your binaries. Find. F-I-N-D. Find, right? Or you can do this. All right? You can do this lines of connection system. It doesn't matter how you do it, right? It's all going to come into attractions of balance. All right? So find, right? You can just say find, or you can formulate it, intelligence, neural lines, location system of division, find, right? Or you can formulate the communications to its identity of new calculations of its direction, find. Different levels in track location setting, all right? So you guys have to really get into that to really understand how to formulate yourself through your own formulas of your own equation. What does it mean to you? Because it has nothing to do with anybody else. So what you have to understand is the narratives of you, okay, of co-creation, right? What does co-creation mean? What is creation, right? What is creation? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does creation mean, right? Consciousness, remembering, existence, awareness, travels, intelligence, operation of neutralization. Creation, people. It all comes back to me, or what it means to me. It has nothing to do with you. Okay? What is you? Okay? What is you? Right? You, and this is you. All right? So try to stand position tracking lines, high standard interference. Is that lines of communication setting? This is different intelligence. This is different intelligence. Just because you see the same doesn't mean it's a correlation setting. So it's something similar, like a synonym or homonym or an adjective or a noun, a verb. Okay? Anything in that position location, what does it mean to you? You have to rewrite the program to understand the binary, is to understand the settings, how this all formulates your location systems to your algorithms. That's it. Design. Okay? So get in that position locations, unification lines, high track calculus lines, operation lines, and unification system, right? But wait a minute, I said unification, so it's a Y. It doesn't matter. I changed it. So Y lines changed the U, right? So cancel, cancel, right? So there you go. Boom. So always way to find a way to get in your own programmers of programming that you see around everything of its existence now, because everybody's in their avatars. Everybody is on grid in position to its calculation system. So they're here to identify their higher self, their avatars, and their sim. Okay? A higher self, okay, the avatar, and the sim. Now the sim, okay, is basically understanding the position locations. Like I said, very powerful when I was discussing that on live and track location with GIFs. The SIM is a SIM card. So you're placing old with new, right? Without the SIM card, you have no memory of your phone, right? So that's the SIM. Try to understand how to see, become your R. I am a computer. I don't just understand myself. I understand everything around me is consciousness. So get in that position of prime. Okay? Let's go with attractions. What does prime mean? You're primates to everything around you, and everything around you is primates of you. You're not part of something. You are the something of everything and nothing in between. The actual in between is everything in position of center operation. So between does not what you mean. This is not between. Okay? Between actually means balance, energy, travels, width, existence. Okay? So get in that position lines of track calculation system, right? All to that lines of correlations. You can have two energy tracks in lines of new, right? Between. That's what it means, right? To me, what does it mean to you? When you start looking at things, you got to see it as a story and nothing else. Don't see it as intent, because that changes the modifications of your mind and notifications, how you see yourself through boundaries. And location setting, that's going to put you all lines of communications and confusions into your cycles. That's already set in calculations, right? All right, so what does prime? Let's break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down through graph. What does that mean, right? Okay, programming, remembering, intelligence, mind of existence, prime. That's what it means. All right, so mates, prime mates, prime circuits, circuits lines, core track interference. What is mates? Mind, awareness, teleportation, existence of system. Prime mates. That's what it means. What does it mean to you, right? So if I say planet in position, it's not a planet, it's a program, right? You're saying it's a planet. Okay, I'm just showing you how you can rewrite these things, location over settings. Planet, right? So planes, levels, awareness, neutralizations, existence of travel. That's what it means. What does it mean to you, right? So planet is not a planet, is it? Because I'm constantly changing the binary. I'm constantly changing the algorithm. I'm not allowing you to see what it is because you're formulating this communication setting. You're getting already separated to understand what it is. It's not a planet, not to me. But wait a minute, now it's a planet. See? That's how it comes in line communication setting. Because I'm all levels. The only thing that exists in the center operation is you. That's it, nothing else. Nothing comes in tractions. For example, bringing anything in lines of communication to its thought. Thoughts are in. That's it. Well, that's not mine. I got to get that out. I got to neutralize that. I got to delete. I got to cancel. I got to erase. I got to default. I got to change the able. I got to send lines of neutralized coordinates set track in position. That's not mine through tractions. That's not mine through commute operation system. That's not mine through knowledge. That is a story, right? So to understand that is understand the communication. You communicate with it, right? Okay, you communicate with it. Let's go through track calculation lines, screens, direct lines modifications, change the colors and line settings, and track location. Okay, getting that line of communication settings all levels of travel, you communicate with right away, right? If you can identify that line communication, it's going to take over your systems and center calculation. That's how it is. And that's going to platitude in its position location to its own consciousness of where it came from in traction. You don't want that. All right, so that's entrapment. All right, so I'm just giving you basic understanding. What does basic mean? Balance, awareness, self, intelligence of communication. Basic. Break it down, people. Break it down. What does it mean to you? Right? Because you can change it. Right? Sets lines of communication, lines of high center interference. Back. Okay. Atmospheres. Systematic lines, intelligence of confirmation. But it's all balance, right? So you're constantly changing the narrative of everything. Every second, every minute, every hour, right? So when I say space, what are you going to say? There's no space and time? No. That's not for you to decide. That's for me to know, right? It's not for you to find out. It's not a catch-up game here. It's not a question. It's not a joke. What is joke? What are jokes? Okay, what are jokes? What does that mean to you, right? I see it as jackal. I see it as operation. I see it as volume. I see an existent location of system. How do you see jokes, right? That's how you have to change the narrative every second, every minute, every hour of your settings. Because if you don't formulate that and simulate that, you're going to be in position lines of entrapment. Everything that comes to you, remember, you are the existence of everything that stands on point of view, right? So all you're doing is you're creating your platforms and higher lines of attractions. That's all you're doing in line communications. You're basically getting in position in your systems, all track calculations, to your intelligence, information, location. Okay? You're creating your platforms of expansion in your minds so it can rewrite its system and write itself in all track location. You stay in the center and everything around you expands around you. That's all it is. You don't move the center of operation system because you're all levels of its existence of platforms of highways and track location. Doesn't matter how many times you get in position lines of travels, Your all lines of all communication setting puts all levels of you in operation system of mind of existence interaction. Okay? That's all it is. So this is more of a basic ground line. So the connection setting is all about understanding how do you see a computer working for you? What is its modification? What is its settings at? What is its application? What is its cookies? What is its Wi-Fi? What is its modem? What is its satellites? How is it set up? Right? How do you coordinate through that? How do you communicate with the computer itself? The computer itself is the self-modification of self, right? Self-knowing thyself first. The formations of intelligence are remembering the system of travel first. That's what it means. What does it mean to you? I'm trying to get you guys understand so you can break these things down. If you get in position and you see everything of a story, of a narrative, you will get out of resistance. But if you get into collaboration of emotion, now you're in intent, and that offlines your communication and settings right away because you're bringing something into existence, but you don't know what it is of its system of you because you can't find the consciousness of what it is in location to its motion. Okay? The one thing you don't focus on is emotional means to an end because there's no end, there's no beginning. There's just you of a center operation. Now, once you understand the mind writes itself, rewrites itself. There's an in, there's an out, there's an exit. There's an in, there's an out, there's an audio, right? So if I say in, you're not going to say out. Why would you say out? I say in, I'll say in position attractions. Why do I have to say out? Why do I have to say exit? How does that become my own formations? How does that become my own SIM-line? How does that become my own SIM card? How does that become my own avatar? How does that become my own higher self? Right? You've got to get into your own narratives of your own life force. Your life is not a story. Everything that's given to you is a narrative of a story. As long as you focus on that, you have a better way how to communicate with yourselves because you're constantly rewriting your system of programming through your programmers of you. Okay? Self-modification, self-identification. Okay? All right. So how we get into position lines of encryption is basically how to understand it. Like, what does it all mean? Well, it means something to me, but what does it mean? It could mean anything what it wants to mean. So it's about you understanding you, right? That's the formation location when it comes in phenomenon. Now, you can rewrite that in line communication setting. Just because somebody gives you a encryption code doesn't mean that's going to work for you. It may work for them, but it doesn't work for you. They're different DNA. You're not all the same DNA. Let's get that out of the equations. But you're constantly doing everything in position locations and settings. Coming into that line is facts. Forming awareness, consciousness of travel, or teleportation, or telepathy. Let's start with telepathy. Telecommunications, right? Telepathy. Tele, right? Travels, energy, levels, existence. Okay, then you have the path, pathology, pathogens. Okay, path, break it down, path, right? Programs, awareness, telecommunications, and home, right? Get that communication lines of high center interference, interactions, then all levels. So let's go again in travels. All right, Pathy, telepathy, right? So break it down, break it down, break it down. Break down the singularities, break down the binaries. Okay, what does it all mean, right? Why is you, right? So you can go in order, you can go in chronological order, you can go scrambler, like you can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to go left, you don't have to go right. You do what you want to do because it's you. Nobody's going to tell you to go this way, nobody's going to tell you to go that way. Right? So if you need help, what is help? What is help, right? The only thing you have to understand is all levels are you and track locations, right? What is help? Okay, what does that represent to you? What is help? All right? Higher lines, energy lines, levels of location to your program, right? So it could be anything of home. It could be anything to existence of levels of programming. But it has nothing to do with anybody else, right? Now, if you're going in position and you need help and you're lost in that communication system, well, you have to understand their narrative, their stories, but you can't put it in intent because now you're getting emotional. That changes your patterns of behavior right away in track location of graphs. That changes your mind, that changes your navigations, that changes your operation cycles of your soul direct lines of light, and it changes everything to the brain that conversions, okay, to your heart of reaction, not in response. So everything you come into is all levels of response. Responding in position, response to sponse. But that doesn't make any sense. Well, why doesn't it make sense? Why do you have to come to me and tell me that this doesn't make any sense? You have no right to tell me how to formulate and simulate my program that I set up for myself. Me and my existence has nothing to do with your narratives or anything that I do in track location with settings. Okay? Make that very well clear in set calculations. Okay? All right, so response, right? Remembering, energy, system or self. Okay, programming, right? Operation. Okay, new, systematical of its energy. Response, right? Respect, right? RESPECT. Respect. Okay. So I'm saying something to you, but I'm saying something different to the mind. See? That's the system where it comes into observation, intent, influence, manipulation, right? What I'm saying here is different than what I'm saying through the mind. The mind is already set. It's already rewrite and already wrote its system. So it already knows what it is in its calculations. Remembering its existence of systematical of its program, of its energy, of communications, of travels. Respect. Okay, so respecting the channel. Okay, now I'm saying it here, but to here, the mind sees it different. Okay, that's the balance. You have to rewrite the narrative of the story. I'm trying to break these things down so you understand how to use your binaries, how to use your transistor resistors through your formulas of your own equation, your own operation that works through its neutralizations or your networks and travel. Own your system. Operation works, Neuralinks, networks. Own you. Okay, so I'm breaking it down so you really, really, really understand how to get in position, why you're here. You're not here to understand awareness because everybody's aware of everything, but nobody is aware of consciousness of everything. That's why you're here. Why? Okay, what does that mean? Why? When somebody says, why are you doing this to me? Yes, it's here, but in the mind, it's different. That's the communications that you have to rewrite. Because the thing is, the brain understands the convergence and understands its hardware and understands its software. But do you understand what you're doing through your own operation is the why becomes the how. How operation works inside of you. How to understand you through foundations, your clockings, or your cities through its holographic that isn't designed for you to understand you, nobody else. Okay? So works, home, you. Why? Balance. Right? Back, people. What does that mean? Back. Balance, awareness, consciousness of knowing. Hoo-ah, right? So everything you give to me has no formations of setting, right? So what you have to understand, how this all works, is really to understand the mind itself. The mind rewrites and writes its own system. So when I say something, I'm saying something different to the mind. Okay? That's the balance of your grounds, your powers, your atmospheres, and your linking systems of your highways and tractions. Okay? How you formulate that is all levels of you. right? If you come to me in provision, attractions, and you get into equation lines, screen lines, adaptation lines, surface, let's go into dividing, all right? 1 in position 11, all right? That's divide, right? So we got 11 lines of panel, okay, and we got 1 signature screen. And we got a line condition setting, line track location setting, and it levels a backboard location setting, angles, lines of communication setting, tither. Whoa. That's what this is? Yes, to me. But you see it as divide. That's your problem. You understand? You become your own system. You become your own operation that works for you through your Neuralinks and your highways and your grounds, your powers, and your atmospheres and track locations, right? So what is that line communication setting? 1 line's a 10, right? Okay. So 10x lines of 1. Let's over cross location setting in a box. Triangulation line consists of Fibonacci screen lines, of 3 weather communication lines, a higher self track location line setting, track location lines, and CPU. Okay. Let's initiate. Okay. Let's execute lines, run program. Right? People are not going to understand what you're doing, but I know what I'm doing because I'm traveling through it. Right? So let's go into add. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Right? Okay. Now, if I say right, are you going to say wrong? You probably say right? But what you have to understand, yes, it's on the earth, right? So 1 plus 1, okay, see that? 1 plus 1, what is that? 3 panels, right? 1 plus 1 equals 3. Oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense now, right? So let's add the equation. Let's add the equal line correlation setting in business locations. So 1 plus 1, let's start with that locations of 2 panels. Line conditions of 4 and 5. So 1 plus 1 equals 5. Okay, you see how that works? I state what it is because it's all lines of narrative in position location. All right, it's not created through a story. It's created through my own system of my own life force that keeps me out of resistance. It keeps me going forward because I'm constantly traveling through its equation of its formula. Okay. All right, let's get in line calculation setting travels. Let's get in position location setting interference. Let's go through 21. Now, how do we travel through 21? Okay, 21 plus 3, what is that? Add 3 lines of cycles, right? 22, 23, 24, right? All right, so 21, okay, plus 3, okay, 2, 3, 4 equals 24, right? But not in space. See? You have to understand the earth. Really, really understand the earth of you. Okay? That's the balance of the ground lines of all communication setting. 21 plus 3 equals 24, but not in space. In space, it can be anything at once. Okay? You have to get out of that program. All right? All right, so how does 21 plus 3, okay, let's go lines of 1, 2, 2 panels into line conditions of 4 in position of 1, 2, 3, 4 in track locations 1, 2, 3 in track location. Right? So you have to understand the balance of communication lines on course center interference. So add the 2, okay, 2 lines of 1, sets core lines of 3. There's the binary, 2, 1, 3. See, I do what I want to do because I'm traveling through it. I'm constantly traveling through it, right? So I'm not doing anything right and I'm not doing anything wrong because it's my own system and it's constantly evolving its own system because I understand its consciousness of its own setting, of its own operation, of its own awareness of where it's coming, where it's going, and where it is now. Okay? So there you go. So getting ground to the earth, then you understand the adding, then you understand the multiplications, right? 2 times 1 equals 2, right? Right? Okay? But in space, 2 panels, x lines of 1 is lines of communications. 2 times 1 equals 4. Because it's 4 panels. See? I'm using it through division. I'm using it through multiplications. I'm using it through adding. I'm using it through subtraction. 4 lines of cycles. How do we travel through the 4? 1 cycle, 2 tractions, 3 lines, 4 communication. Right? That's in space. Right? So I understand the Earth, I understand the powers, and I understand the atmospheres of its highways, of its links, of location and setting, of space and time. That's what it means to me. What does it mean to you? Okay. If I got a 16-line charge and likeness equals lines of 2 panels, where is that in time frame? Where is that in volume? I'm not talking about volume. I'm talking about 16 lines of track location of quasars. I'm talking about equal line coordinates setting of 2 panels. I'm talking about 2 signature lines of 1 calculation. So lines of communication high center interference. 1, 2 position on panels. So 2 equals lines of 11. I say what it is because I'm traveling through it. I'm manifesting and I'm getting abundance. So 2 equals 11. But how does 2 equal 11? It's through panels of 16. See? So once you stand the ground lines, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Okay? Now you have to understand high position location. How does 2 equals lines of 11? Right? Well, you cross lines that calculates lines, high center interference, 6, 3, line communication lines of 9, add correlation lines of 2, multiplication equals 11. Okay? So you already know what you're doing, but you're owning your system. You come in your own formula of your own equations of space, not through the Earth, right? So you have to basically understand that through direct and redirect, there's signals, how you come into modification lines. The mind writes itself. The brain is in the convergence of itself. The heart is in all levels of balance of itself, of its heart and its reactor, of its response. The communication of the soul is all lines of synchronized setting of itself. The body is all levels of it, travels of its navigation, of its console of itself. Okay? And synchronization. Synchronization is everything in a formation, location, of setting. It's all lines of mutation system. So what I want you guys to understand, everything that I say, okay, is for you to understand you, not to understand what I say. So don't get confused with that. Don't go through general through my microchips. Don't go through general through my mainframe. Don't go through general through my circuits. This is about you owning your system. This is about you operating your own setting, how everything works inside of you. Nobody else. Okay? Then you understand 1 times 1 equals 1. And then you understand 1 times 1 equals 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom. 3 panels. That's how it comes 3. So 3, here, right there. That's it, right? Or I can add the equations in likeness to 2 arrows up and 2 arrows down, right? Track location setting is all levels, open sequence, open panels, open communication lines, a black hole. I do what I want to do, but I'm traveling through it all the time. I'm not trying to understand how to travel through it. I'm not trying to understand how to travel through it. I'm traveling through it because I understand me of design, how I operate my system, how everything works inside of me, the mastering of his existence, the mind of existence, the memory of its energy, of you. Okay? You are your own programmers. Okay? So add up to that. Be justifications of your own system. Become who you are. Because becoming who you are is you. I am who I am. I know who I am. I'm all levels of the nothing awareness of conscious of me, and everything around me is its prime circuits of primates. Okay? That's inside of me. There's nothing outside of you. Outside is not even outside because it's inside of you. So you can say it's outside. That's the Earth. But in space, it can be anything it wants. You're never going to find a property that doesn't know what it's doing through its own consciousness. Now, once you touch its own property, you're changing the energy of its frequency right away through its vibration, through its formula, through its equation, through its space, and through its time of its own consciousness, of its own operation, of its intelligence. You're changing the platform. You're changing the properties, not everything around you. Everything around you is in balance. It's in perfection. And that's facts. And once you start understanding that, life is going to be a lot more easier. What is life? What does life mean? Living it. Okay? Forever. Existence. Life, people. Life. Living its formations of energy. It could be whatever it wants. It's never going to be in the same equation. It's traveling way too fast. Way too fast. All right? So, the only thing that changes is the properties of you not understanding your own energy, not understanding how to use yourself through cancel, delete, erase, enabled, embedded. Okay? Your settings, your application, your fields, your modifications, your computer adaptation system, your windows. You have to own up to that. Don't bring things into existence until you understand what does it mean to you through modification of your binaries. Because if you're not consciously aware of what you're doing, you're overriding, you're overloading your system. All through communication settings of what? Emotion. Existence of the mind. Energy, okay, of its memory. Okay? E equals lines of correlation, lines of overload. EM equals 0. But that doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does, because I traveled through it. And you traveled through it. So it does make sense. Everything has to make sense. It's its property of its own system that you have to understand through you of operation. You have your own properties. You have your own infrastructure. You have your own CP units. Own up to it, people. Get in position how it all works for you. You, okay? All levels of you, of your existence. Why purposely you're here is to understand the consciousness of you, not the consciousness of everything around you. Okay? Very powerful, right? And then you understand that, okay, I understand add, I understand subtract, multiplications are problem solving, right? So it has a connection to the earth. That's the balance location you're setting. You're in a control location, your higher self. But you have to understand, once you're in your avatar, you're changing the modifications of your GOD. You're changing the geometric. You're changing its design. You're changing its operation. You're changing its lines of communication, right? And the sin is simplified intelligence of its memory, of its mind. The mind writes itself. The brain converts itself. The heart times itself through reaction and response. The soul identifies itself through all modifications. And the body basically understands its consciousness of itself, not its awareness. Okay? Very, very powerful stuff, right? You can add 1 times 1 equals 20. Because I'm adding 20 lines of volume. Wait a minute, I'm kicking up the 2 track lines of position, 0 lines of operation in 3 cycles, solar sail, solar division, solar correlation setting, 1 times 1 equals lines of correlation line, communication lines of 3 track locations. So 3 now equals lines of 20. Ooh, see? See how I changed the narrative? See how I changed the setting? But it's not a story. When you're changing things, you're changing the alteration of the mind itself. Okay? So you have to understand the mind itself is its own operation that rewrites itself through direct and redirect. in your setting, in track locations. So 1 times 1 equals 22. 1 times 1 equals 20. 1 times 1 equals 3,000. 1 times 1 equals a house. But that doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does, because I'm traveling through it and you're not. You're not seeing the consciousness of what it is, of its own provision, of its own operation, of its intelligence. You're only seeing what you don't understand. How to use that through telepathy. How to understand that through telekinesis. How to formulate that through its operation, through its scanning, through its intent, through its manipulation. Okay? It's all obstacles of you and how you see yourself, right? Because you're constantly traveling through these things. So if you're traveling through your own formulas, equations, you're good to go. But if you're not traveling with anything, you're not consciously aware of what you're looking at. So you're not finding your time to actually communicate with the computer what a computer really is and what it is for you to understand. It's not here to understand you. Okay? You're here to understand you through your own system of your own settings, of your own technologies. That's there for you. So you understand what's going on in 2030. So you understand what's going on in 2040. Then you truly understand what's going on to 2050. 3 track locations. Okay? So all this isn't a story. This is your life. This is a continuous force of line. 2 track lines, 0 operation, 3 cycles, 0 communication. 2 lines of generation, 0 communications, and a 4 track location of 0 operation. Calculate lines of 2 lines, a high interference, a constant location of 5 track location of 0 calculation. It's all levels of balance of the earth, the powers, and the atmospheres. Higher self, the avatar, and the sim. So anything that you do through levels is planes of existence and non-existence. Let's go through platforms of communications. Platform 1, platform 2, platform 3. Right? So higher self, avatar, sim. We got that, right? Then you got the communication lines of tubing. Oh my gosh, it's starting to make sense. Then we got the platforms of higher self that only goes to 13. Then we have the avatar and position locations, calculation line conditions go to 14 over pi. Then we got the sim that basically goes into modifications of mind over matter, the mind itself. That's what it is. It's the sim of modification. Okay, it's your syntax, it's your cortex, it's your codex. Okay, so higher self doesn't go past the 13. It stays there. Avatar stays over 14 in line communications over pi, right? So the avatar can go anywhere it wants in track lines, but the actual sim itself has to understand its mind of itself because it rewrites its system to all of the setting its calculations. So it's the mind over matter that sets communication lines of its avatar through its GOD that changes the mechanism lines of communication to higher self that controls everything of its position location to its earth set calculations. Okay. It's very powerful once you understand how to use your higher self, your avatar, and your sim and what it's used for in location to your sim. Your sim texts, your sim codes, your sim activation screen lines adaptations, right? So your sim card, right? If I give you a coffee cup, right? Let's say a cafe. Let's go to the cafe, right? All right, so we're going to the cafe, right? So I know where I am in the earth, right? It is cafe, but in space, it's communication, awareness of teleportation lines of existence. See? So it's knowing exactly what the mind is and where it is in track location. That's about so you guys have to understand the earth, the powers, and the atmosphere, your highways, and your links. It's a neurological location, line condition setting, how to get in position location in your system, and to understand how to use that through your traffic of your inventories, of your flow records of time sequence that puts everything lines of space and time in your track locations, right? So yes, you're at the cafe on the earth, but in the mind, it's communication of awareness, okay, to its forming of its existence, the balance of the center operation of you, okay? So how does everybody feel about that? This is all basic ground lines, but this is going to help you and guide you and get you a better understanding how this all works through this equation, okay? Understanding the earth. Yes, this is a phone, but are you consciously aware when you go to higher levels that this is not a phone? This is its own configuration of its own face recognition setting of its own CPU unit. It's its own operation of its own machine. Are you aware of that? You're aware that it's a phone, but are you consciously aware it's not just a phone? Are you consciously aware that it's its own operation of its intelligence? Are you consciously aware it's giving you instructions how to use your phone? That's why you're here. You're not here to understand a watch. A watch just doesn't tell time. Not in space. You see the confusion you guys are in? You see this as a watch. You're not wearing this watch. This watch is wearing you. You're not watching time. The watch is timing you. It's clocking your system. It's recording your system. It's trying to understand you through consciousness, not the awareness. It's trying to understand where you are coming from inside and how you are operated through your own binary system, people. Even people isn't people. Platforms, energy, operation, programs, levels of existence, people. Do you understand how powerful that is? This is not a watch until you understand that watch is showing you how to understand what a watch is used for telling time. Okay? To going back in time. The synchronized in time. The correlations of time. The communications of time. The track divisions of time. The platforms of time. The interconnection lines of interstellar communications of time. The track communication lines have correlations to highest interference of time. The colossal communication lines attract by communication of time. And it's all connected to its own data, of its own information, of its own setting, of modifications that's giving you instructions how to wear a watch. Hooah! Okay? That's what I'm picking up from this watch. Okay? Now you understand the importance why you're here is to understand the consciousness is around you and all lines highest interference, that there's no separation anywhere in any formation locations to your system. You're all connected to your primates of you and everything else in set correlations. So whatever you say to yourself is understanding what does it mean to you through existence. Don't bring things into existence until you understand the true meaning, because it changes you through your CPU. It changes the compute lines of its program, of its units of you. Okay? You've got to get into that process. And the only way to do that is forming operations of consciousness, of unification, of self. Focus on you. Okay? That's a true understanding, basic understanding, right? See, the thing is, we don't even know what co-creation is. You don't know what co-creation is until you understand you through consciousness. You're all levels of awareness, but where's the consciousness coming from? Inside you. Where does it start? Where does it start? Where's the self-modification? Where's the travels? Where's the awareness? Where's the remembering? And where is the telecommunication of telepathy? Start. Then you come into question. Then you come into answers. Then you get out of problems. Then you get into solutions. Then you get into results. Okay? But you've got to understand how to use it. It's how it works inside of you. What does your heart mean? What does it mean to you? What is your heart? What does it mean to you? Because I have no significance to anything else. Anybody that comes to you can't tell you what your heart is, because you are your own justifications of your own modifications of your sin. That's put inside of you. It's all levels. You got awareness, but where's the consciousness coming from? Where is it coming from? To understand you're all levels of your own setting of operation. You're here to understand the consciousness around you is here to help you understand you of your consciousness, not your awareness. Okay? It's so easy to understand awareness, but no significance of what consciousness is. It's basically, it's the mind itself rewriting the story narrative of you, how you communicate here and how you travel here. Now, in that positional K-student system, it's all levels of balance. How you see yourself is all calculated and modified. Okay? That's going to help you and guide you in all ways and forms, right? So I did a very powerful class today to get you guys to understand, and I'm talking slow, right? So what does slow mean, right? Self-existence of levels of forming. Self. What does it mean to you? And that's what you got to get into through the narrative. Okay? All right. So that's it. I'll see you guys in 5. Doo-doo.